Ukraine signs a historic agreement and receives security guarantees. But at the same time, NATO is preparing to enter this war against Russia. And speaking about Russians, they want to create a so-called buffer zone in Kharkiv region. Why would they need to do it? And more about all of this in just a couple of minutes. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. And let's get straight to the point and talk about some ridiculous Russian propaganda. Okay. Today, since the holidays are pretty much over, but we do have the remaining pictures from the new year, the main holiday, winter holiday in Russia. And right here we have a typical Z-Patriot, with even more typical Z-Patriot hairstyle. I mean, just take a look at this dude. This line of hair hanging down is something you would never see probably anywhere, except the far, far North Siberia of Russia, where for some reason, absolutely unknown reason, this hairstyle is still cool. And I have a request from you guys. Please let me know in the comments if you would like to have a haircut like this, or if you prefer to have a friend who'll have this haircut so you can make fun of him. Just once again, let me know down below. But okay, now, as always, let's get serious. And first of all, I'm gonna give you an update from the south and the east of Ukraine. Talk about Russians literally obliterating their own flying fortress, worth of more than $330 million, than this so-called buffer zone in Kharkiv region. And we'll finalize everything with the security guarantees for Ukraine and NATO thinking to join the war. And so yes, you probably already heard about Russians losing extremely two expensive planes, A-50 and Il-22. The first one is pretty much a long-range raider and the second one is the command post, the so-called flying fortress. And eventually, later on, it appeared information online that maybe Russians intercepted those planes themselves. Obviously because of extreme miscommunication. Both of these planes can be used during ongoing offensive and defensive operations, and especially this first one, A-50, the most expensive one. It provides extreme logistics and radar capabilities, detection capabilities, which can help even Russians themselves to guide their metallic cylinders even better. So, with downing this plane, Russians severely disrupted and reduced their launch capabilities, let's call them like this. And even though this A-50 plane, the downing of it, was confirmed pretty much immediately both by Russians and Ukrainians, it took some time to confirm that Il-22 was intercepted as well. And right here, for example, is one of the most recent pictures of its tail wing. Now let me give you an extremely quick update from the east, and first of all we make a stop in Krasnohorivka, located to the north of Avdiivka, where Ukrainians were able to destroy a tank and an assault group of Russians. And total number of Russian assaults in the last 24 hours against Krasnohorivka area and Marinka was estimated to be around 15 of them, and Ukrainians intercepted all of them. Then, to the north of Avdiivka, Ukrainians using a javelin were also able to destroy several armored vehicles of Russians. Next right here is pretty interesting video of a Ukrainian infantry fighting vehicle Bradley fighting against a Russian ultra-modern tank T-90M, also from Avdiivka area. And guess what? Ukrainians were victorious in this one-on-one battle. The Russian tank was hit, disabled, and then Ukrainians even used the drone to completely finish it off. The crew looks like were able to survive. They escaped the tank and pretty much abandoned it in the middle of the open field. And besides that, right here is another video, also from Avdiivka area, which became even more disastrous for Russians, more disastrous than Bakhmut itself, where yet another T-90M Russian tank is being destroyed by a Ukrainian drone, which hits right in the most vulnerable place in between the turret and the body of the tank. And the reaction and the consequences, the ball of fire is extremely big. This crew of this tank, I don't think they were as lucky as the previous one. And as always guys, all of this uncensored footage you will be able to find on my Patreon, link down below, in addition to early access to fully uncensored episodes of The Russian Dude. And this is the best way to support the channel, so please go ahead and check. There is 1 week of free access for every single one of you, and once again the link is down below. But as we go back north, according to one of the earlier reports by the Institute for the Study of War, it looks like that Russians, they want to establish a so-called buffer zone between Kharkiv and Belgorod, which is approximately a radius of 15 kilometers in each direction, and basically means that there are no hostilities allowed inside this area. Obviously, one of the main reasons why the Russians want to do this is to protect Belgorod region from Ukrainian attacks, but I do not think that these are Russians who can dictate the rules in this war. I don't think Ukrainians will either agree to this cease of fire, because they know that most likely Russians will take this opportunity to gather forces to assemble their military potential, military power exactly in this area, to later launch an attack against Kharkiv and go all the way down to the south. There is simply no way to trust Putin and his military generals whenever they promise some kind of a safety outcome of the current situation. So I will leave it up to, obviously, Ukrainians to decide how they want to proceed with this proposal, but I guess we all know what they're gonna choose. And so yes, now it's finally talk about the security guarantees and the historic deal that Ukraine signed recently, and then we'll finalize everything talking about NATO potentially joining this war. But first of all guys, if you do want also to support the channel with the very easy thing to do, which is obviously less liking this video and subscribing to my channel, it is a tremendous help. Please go ahead and do it. If you are still not subscribed, you are more than welcome to our channel. Thank you so much. You can also follow me on Instagram and follow my travel journey through the stories, and we're also extremely close to 9,000 there. The link to my Instagram is down below. And so yes, first of all, speaking about the security guarantees, apparently in December of last year there was a so-called secret meeting in El Riyadh, which were discussing this peace formula by Zelensky. And just in very basic understanding what this peace formula means is that there is no way a nuclear, food and energetic threats which can be made. Then all the prisoners of war must be exchanged all for all. Next is that the Russian army should leave the territory of Ukraine and the territorial integrity of the country should be restored. And finally, there should be a tribunal for the war criminals of Russia that made this war possible. There must be reparations, and Russia must pay for the damages that it caused Ukraine and its territory. And ultimately, there should be security guarantees that something like this will never happen. And speaking about the security guarantees, Ukraine and the United Kingdom pretty much recently signed a historic agreement. And in just also very basic understanding what it means is that the UK will do its best to help Ukraine in its accession to NATO. It will also help protect the country from the Russian invasion as much as possible, unfortunately without the direct involvement of the United Kingdom army. And then also UK will try to help Ukrainians to develop and to build their own weapon and military industrial base on the territory of Ukraine, so that Ukraine will have much better possibilities, much easier possibilities to defend itself against Russia without relying on the Western support so much. There will also be an annual support from the UK to Ukraine worth of approximately 2.5 billion pounds per year, which is approximately $3 billion. And then the countries will cooperate and share their intelligence and industrial military industry data. So, as you can see, pretty much the idea behind this agreement is to protect Ukraine by letting them protect themselves with the help of the West. So once again, Ukraine will not be relying on the West as much, because in case something like this happens in the future, Ukraine will be able to respond much faster, and it will already have all the necessary equipment and military vehicles to protect itself without waiting for this to come from the West. And just once again coming back to the security guarantees, recently, approximately several days ago, Zelensky apparently approved this list of the Ukrainian delegation, which will be talking and discussing those security guarantees with the representatives of the West. And as you can see, there are a lot of familiar faces, such as Mr. Yermak, Budanov, Maluk, Pavlyuk, Umerov, Fomenko, Kovalenko and Martinyuk. And guess what? Already one country promised security guarantees to Ukraine, and this country is Canada. This information came to us according to the ambassador of Canada to Ukraine, Natalka Smots, and this alleged document is already on the table of Zelensky, so the negotiations about these security guarantees will begin and last for the next several weeks, and allegedly, assumably, that even more countries will join in providing these securities to the country. And guess what? Besides helping Ukraine to win in this war, the Western countries are also pretty concerned about their own safety. This is another reason why Ukraine must win, because it serves as the shield between Russia and the West. And for this reason, NATO is even considering in the worst case scenario that they might join war. Because, let's be honest, Putin just keeps escalating and trying to find new excuses to continue the invasion even further. Such as, for example, recently we have new reports that there are some kind of diversion groups of Russians in Transnistria trying once again to destabilize the situation. Once again, so Russians can justify their potential invasion in Moldova. Then there are also some similar reports coming to us from Latvia, where there are also alleged attempts of Russians to destabilize the situation within this country. But just overall, everything comes down to the general narrative of Putin that is switching recently to not Russia is fighting against Ukraine, but to a new narrative, is that actually Russia is fighting in Ukraine against the West. You probably already remember a video of mine from approximately last week when Putin said that Ukraine is not our enemy. Ukraine is our enemy, but it's not Ukrainians who are fighting against us. It is the Western countries which are fighting with the hands of Ukrainians against us Russians. And that is why we had to invade Ukraine, capture territories and take away their land. In addition to that, it is a much better narrative for the people, for the regular people of Russia, because they all see that this "we would capture Kyiv in 3 days" turned into almost 2 years of war with almost little to none progress in the last several months. But when Putin is saying that we are actually fighting against the West, entire West against just one us alone, poor one old Russia against the entire rest of the world, this is kinda much better for the regular people of Russia to understand that, yes, our enemy is strong, so we all should unite. And as a result of all this, it is obviously without a doubt that some Western representatives, they start thinking about the worst case scenario in case Ukraine loses in this war and Putin continues his invasion. Maybe not immediately, he will obviously need to resupply his army and to regain strength, but there is a potential scenario when he can continue marching towards the West and threaten other countries. Most of them will be the ones from NATO, because if you remember from the very beginning, the goal of this special military operation of Putin is to prevent NATO from expanding, which so far he is failing successfully. And so one of such potential reports come to us from Germany, that there might be some combat activities of Russians against this country. They might transport some of their troops to Kaliningrad region, located right in the middle of Europe, and from this place they might attack some surrounding countries. And obviously, NATO cannot just sit and do nothing. The very least they should and can do is to at least practice some military exercise jointly with other countries. And this is exactly what has been spotted, which has been happening recently. Approximately 40,000 NATO soldiers are now assembling in what is the biggest military exercise of this alliance in reportedly the last 40 years. So as you can see, not too many people in the world are left who trust Putin. They simply do not believe that he says, well, no, we're just gonna accomplish this one goal of ours, which is always changing, and we're just gonna calm down because, I mean, our goals of this war are accomplished. Why else would we invade NATO? But as you can see, the reality is often pretty different. For this reason, it is quite understandable what is happening right now. It is quite understandable why there might be a big escalation in the near future and why countries should be prepared for what's coming. Hopefully nothing like this happens, but as always, no matter what happens, I will be here reporting on the news daily. And guys, if you do want to stay updated, just once again, please consider subscribing to my channel. Only takes one small little click. Thank you so much, my patrons, for your support, and see you tomorrow.